Vamos a proceder con la última sesión de la tarde. How US Embassies are tool for economic growth. El moderador, Javier Cuebas, radicado ya más de 3 décadas en Washington, presidente del Grupo 21. Y lo poquito que conversamos ahorita en un paréntesis en el pasillo, es interesante la iniciativa y lo que está llevando a cabo. Él estará a cargo de moderar el panel bajo el tema How US Embassies are tool for economic growth. Lo tengo por aquí con Javier. Una vez recesemos esta tarde, regresamos aquí a las 7 en punto de la noche para continuar con un protocolo, una actividad y el compartir social. Con ustedes, Javier Cuebas. Javier.
Muchísimas gracias a todos. Sé que somos el último panel, así que lo vamos a hacer lo más interesante posible. Va a ser un diálogo. Aquí le voy a pedir a mis compañeros panelistas que empiecen ya a subir y que sean parte de la mesa para que comencemos lo más pronto posible. Así que buenas tardes a todos. Gracias a nuestros anfitriones, gracias a la Cámara de Comercio y a su increíble staff, a Cameron por la invitación. Es un placer estar aquí con ustedes. Como les mencionaba, soy el presidente del Grupo 21, fundador, soy presidente de la Junta y nosotros nos dedicamos a promover un número mayor de puertorriqueños en la Casa Blanca y respectivo de quién sea la persona en Casa Blanca. Tenemos ahora mismo unos grandes logros, gracias por el apoyo. Cameron es parte de esa iniciativa y seguiremos adelantando la causa puertorriqueña para que cuando ustedes necesiten, nuestros hermanos acá en la isla, de apoyo, ayuda, ya sea en el área de negocios o cuando hay desastres naturales, tengan el apoyo necesario siempre en los organismos donde se toman las decisiones. Hoy nuestros distinguidos panelistas atenderán el tema de cómo hacer negocios y cómo utilizar las embajadas como una herramienta para el desarrollo económico. Hoy compartirán con nosotros lo que va a ser un diálogo franco sobre uno de los recursos más efectivos y a la vez de los menos utilizados, que son nuestras embajadas y su personal de trabajo. En materia de servicios para el comercio exterior, existen múltiples agencias con jurisdicción. Tenemos el Departamento de Comercio y la Administración para el Comercio Internacional, de quienes van a estar escuchando a través de José, la Agencia para el Comercio y el Desarrollo, que se especializa en exportación, y claro, una pieza clave en estos esfuerzos es el Departamento de Estado, con sus 163 embajadas y 93 consulados. Hoy vamos a buscar darles una idea de cómo ese recurso puede no tan solo ayudarnos a desarrollar lazos comerciales en un nuevo país, sino hacerlo de forma exitosa. Y si se preguntan qué hace un jíbaro de Mayagüez hablando, por 4 años fui el director de la oficina de Advocacy de la Unión del Departamento de Estado, representando a los miembros del Servicio Exterior de los Estados Unidos, uno de los grandes honores de mi vida. Ahora les quiero presentar a nuestros distinguidos panelistas, la honorable Stein Bernstein, quien fue embajadora de los Estados Unidos en la República Dominicana. También al honorable Hertell, quien también fue embajador de los Estados Unidos en la República Dominicana, y a José Burgos, con quienes compartimos un foro sobre México en el Bankers Club hace unos cuantos añitos. Así que gracias por estar aquí. Él es el director del Departamento de Comercio de los Estados Unidos para Puerto Rico y las Islas Vírgenes. Antes de comenzar, les quiero compartir las reglas de juego. Me permite un minuto. Tenemos 45 minutos y yo estuve en el ejército, así que vamos a tener 45 minutos de sesión para discutir este tema. Los últimos 5 minutos serán dedicados para atender las preguntas que ustedes tengan. Por favor, las pueden empezar a someter en este momento, porque voy a utilizar la mayoría que puedas de las preguntas. Les solicito a la audiencia que por favor las tengan listas para que un miembro del staff de la Cámara pueda recogerlas y entregármelas. Además, les menciono que las biografías y presentaciones de nuestros distinguidos conferenciantes están disponibles en la página web de la Cámara de Comercio de Puerto Rico, www.cámarapr.org. Repito, www.cámarapr.org. Y en estos momentos quisiera iniciar la sesión con la ex embajadora Bernstein para que nos hable, y como es un conversatorio, lo vamos a hacer tipo preguntas. En este caso, vamos a hacer una pregunta que va para ambos embajadores, tanto Hertell como Bernstein. ¿Creen ustedes que la gente toma ventaja de las embajadas a la hora de hacer negocios en otros países? Y de paso, cuando la gente contacta a la embajada sobre oportunidades de negocio, ¿qué es la pregunta más común? ¿Qué es lo que llaman para averiguar? ¿Llaman cuando se meten en problemas, que sabemos que a veces pasa? ¿O llaman con antelación? ¿Cuál es la experiencia? And Ambassador, what we would like to know is make sure that
Hello?
what is your experience? Are people taking advantage of the embassy to the fullest? And also, do they call when they get in trouble, or do they call in advance to really do a good preparation before they actually jump on the plane? What is your experience?
My experience is both. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber for inviting me. Muchas gracias y muy buenas tardes a todos. But I'm going to switch to English since we are the last stop between you and the bar tonight. So, I don't think that people do take advantage of the embassy enough. The most frequently asked question is, to me anyway, is how do I get a visa for my fill in the blank or myself? Or what does the U.S. ambassador do? And really, besides speaking for the president in any given country, the most important thing that a U.S. ambassador can do is to we protect the people, the U.S. citizens that live, work, and travel there. And in my experience, businesses don't often call us often enough. Besides calling the U.S. embassies saying that we want to do business in a country, they should be calling the commercial attaché. They should be. We also are frequently called as a last line of defense. For example, given COVID, we were asked to ferry over 30,000 Americans out of the country. So we are your first line of offense, and I'm saying a football term. We are also your first line of defense.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Ambassador Hertell. Como usted quiera, aquí hablamos Spanish.
I want to thank the Chamber as well, especially my nephew Cameron. He's done a fantastic job putting this together. His leadership skills are second to none. And I also want to take this opportunity to let people here know what this ambassador did for Puerto Rico in our darkest hours. And I was there as a witness, and I really learned what Ambassador Bernstein did. Right after Maria, well, she had been already nominated, but before she had been confirmed, which is a very difficult and sensitive period for any ambassador. I mean, anything can derail your ambassadorship. She went and put together a relief effort second to none in Florida. And I was there with her. And she would sit in the background, and people were doing fantastic things for Puerto Rico, and she couldn't take any credit for it. She couldn't even do anything, because it would have been, you're not even supposed to have contact with anybody from the country where you're going to serve. Anything can derail you. But she went ahead and she did this for Puerto Rico, and I think she deserves an applause for what she did. She was amazing. I mean, I was struck, amazing. And going back to your question, I really believe that people don't take advantage of the opportunities that the embassy presents. And to put it in perspective, I just want to talk a little bit about what the embassy looks like and does, and how the Foreign Commercial Service fits into it. They call it like the best kept secret, just so you know. But there is such a thing as a team, a country team, chaired by the ambassador. But it's like a mini Washington. And you have the people from the intelligence community. You have the DEA, you have the FBI legal, Homeland Security, the defense secretary, the Coast Guard. All these people are always active and involved. And then, of course, whether you have the CIA, it's a question of agriculture, you have AID, you have the Peace Corps. It goes on and on. And the person that represents the Department of Commerce has clearances, and he participates with the whole embassy on these discussions. And then you have, as part of that team, you have what they call a DCM, the Deputy Chief of Mission. It's like a COO of the embassy. And then you have an eco-pole counselor, like 30 if you see an organic. And then you have economic counselor and you have a political counselor. Now these people are very senior and experienced foreign service, diplomats. And the economic counselor knows every political leader in the country, reads every newspaper, and he knows who the parties are, the leaders, what their agenda is. They have all that intelligence, and you have the economic counselor, and the Commerce Department nourishes itself from all this information. So it's not just a promotional thing. It goes beyond that. So you have the economic counselor. He's really active in the understanding and analyzing the economy, the business leaders, the political leaders, and all that stuff. And so when the Department of Commerce is asked a question about an individual, an opportunity, they're really well prepared for this round. So I'd like to think that, especially Puerto Rico, because this is the Chamber of Commerce of Puerto Rico, at least while I was there, I didn't see them as active as I hoped they could have been, and to get all the benefit of the information and the resources that an embassy has. And like Ambassador Bernstein said, I mean, they don't care whether you're African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, your religious denomination. If you're an American, the embassy's there to protect your interests and to promote them. And that's what the Commerce Department does.
Actually, thank you so much to both of you for your answer. Along those lines, something that people often forget, and sorry for switching to English, I think we're going to be fine. People forget that when you go abroad, you're American, period, end of story. You're not from the D's, you're not from the R's, you're not from the left, you're not from the right. You can be from Puerto Rico or from Chattanooga, Tennessee, you are an American. And that's something that people need to keep in mind, because very often they get that cold when people are in trouble. So thank you so much for that. José, ¿podrías compartir con nosotros qué es lo que hace tu agencia para ayudar a empresarios y compañías en esta área? ¿Qué servicios hay disponibles? Por ejemplo, la embajada o la ITA, International Trade Administration, puede ayudarnos a determinar si una empresa es legítima, si una empresa no es legítima, y obviamente escoger el lenguaje que tú desees. Yo siempre uso un ejemplo para los que han vivido esto. Tenía una amiga que trabajaba en la embajada de España y tuvo un empresario de Texas que no le creía que los españoles se van de vacaciones por un mes o 6 semanas completas, y en esa época, ya saben qué edad tengo, desconectaban hasta el fax porque no hacían nada durante ese verano. Y este empresario se montó en un avión, apareció en la embajada, insultó a medio mundo, y lo tuvieron que llevar a las oficinas para que viera con sus propios ojos que la oficina estaba cerrada por el verano. ¿Podrías hablarnos de lo que hacen ustedes para ayudar a que nadie tenga que montar un avión innecesariamente?
Cómo no, gracias a la Cámara de Comercio, Cameron, gracias a la ESA también por incluirme en este distinguido panel. Honrado de estar con tu former ambassadors, honor. Pues cambiando a español, básicamente el servicio comercial, el rol principal de nosotros es ser ese contacto en el país, que no pierdas el tiempo, que te hagamos si estás interesado en hacer negocios con una empresa, podemos investigar esa empresa, podemos ayudarte a determinar, como el ejemplo que mencionaste de España, probablemente fue en agosto que todo el mundo se va para las costas y es difícil hacer negocios. Pero el propósito principal es ser ese contacto. En mi caso yo cubro Puerto Rico y las Islas Vírgenes para hacer el contacto y hacer oficinas de Centroamérica, de Santo Domingo, Sudamérica, Europa, donde tenemos aproximadamente 161 oficinas en 80 países, y es hacer, es como que un speed dating de negocio, ponerte en contacto con la pareja ideal en ese negocio, hacer un distribuidor, un mayorista. Ejemplo, en Panamá tenemos muchos requerimientos, nos solicitan mucho con la administración del canal de Panamá, y sé que podemos hacer esos contactos ya sea con entidades privadas como con gobierno per se. Pero el rol principal es ese, ayudarles a que hagan negocios, tengan éxito. Recientemente hemos tenido misiones comerciales con el gobierno de Puerto Rico a México, a Colombia, tenemos una ahora en agosto a Panamá. Sabes que trabajamos con distintos mercados.
Mucho orgullo. I'm very proud to say, Cameron knows this because we were her swearing-in ceremony, that Ambassador Mari Carmen Aponte is one of the founders of Grupo 21, one of the candidates that we helped get to the finish line, now serving for the second time at an embassy, now in Panama. And you have a friend in Panama. I believe you had an event earlier today, right?
She's the reason that we're doing a trade mission to Panama. She requested.
No, muchísimas gracias, José. Thank you very much. Embajador Hertell. Actually, I'm going to do a question that goes to the entire panel. What do you recommend to both entrepreneurs and companies that they should do before jumping on a plane and launch their commercial exploration? As you know, some people are like, oh, I'm going to go with so-and-so because he knows the president. As you know, very often those friendly connections are not exactly the way they need to work. What do you recommend people that they should do before reaching out to the embassy, before they take that first step, which is an investment of basically showing up at a country because they think either going to get a new product, new clients, or they're going to go and pitch something?
There is a book that maybe it's the Department of Commerce publishes. It's called Doing Business in whatever country. So let's say you want to go to the Dominican Republic, and the Department of Commerce publishes annually in April a business book that says Doing Business in the Dominican Republic. And it takes you from A to Z, what industry that is, the pitfalls, the challenges, as well as the opportunities. The other thing I think that's very, very important before you jump on that plane is that you work with your Chamber of Commerce. At least in the Dominican Republic, they had a very active American chamber. And so a lot of times, if you work with your own Chamber of Commerce and you say, I'm interested in going to whatever country, your very own Chamber of Commerce may or may not have a friend there who has done business there. So I would say reach out to your own chamber first. It's a great reason to join a Chamber of Commerce because very often you can find like-minded, even partners, or but you must do your homework before you go into a country. And I think that the Chamber of Commerce, again, is one, and your own Chamber of Commerce, your U.S. department, are your very first steps you should take.
Thank you
And
so
that's
much.
an excellent point, because in the Dominican Republic, and it's a pattern that repeats itself, you have the AmCham, it's one of those really credible institutions that is well run, but its members are usually the most successful business. They're not really Americans, they're locals that work with American companies, but they're an excellent source of information and networking. So doing your homework, contacting people in your sector, getting some information from the Department of Commerce is also very important. And also, the embassy will have a list of professionals that you might need when you're trying to do business, including lawyers, for example. And they have a list. They will not recommend a specific lawyer. But in order to be in that list, you have to be really good, one of the best in every sense. Professional, ethics, So you have that in your favor, and getting as much information as you can from the sector that you want to do business with. And another way that people like to do business in countries where you can get fried, as they say. So as you didn't say, but one of the concerns that you also see is corruption. And sometimes people avoid going through the embassy because they're kind of involved with some people that are not really the right contacts for them to have, and then they get in trouble. So you want to make sure that you associate yourself with the most prestigious, professional, business groups that you're going to be involved in. Get that kind of alliance or friendship, if that works.
As an ambassador, one of the things that I loved the most was when an American company would call me, they would pay a courtesy call. And I think that really is very important that you do make that call to the ambassador's office. Sometimes that ambassador may or may not be able to see you, but then at least they will put you in touch with the commercial attaché or with the deputy chief of mission or someone. But that call is so important because inevitably something bad will happen. And unfortunately it does. And like Hans says, you've got to have that backstop.
And to add to that, for most of the countries in this hemisphere, with a couple of exceptions, the most important bilateral relationship that they have is with the United States. And the U.S. Embassy is an institution that has a lot of credibility and a lot of resources, and it's there for people that want to use that resource in order to develop economic opportunities.
Thank you so much, Jose.
Yeah, I just want to add I'm going to switch to English again. Sorry, from Spanish to English. So I want to add what Ambassador Hertell and Ambassador Bernstein mentioned. The guides that she was talking about, it's called the country commercial guides. So that's information that the agency provide. Every year they updated information, and now it's much easier. Before it was like a long PDF document. Now it's like in the internet, so you go to trade.gov/CCG, which means country commercial guide. You can do Dominican Republic, Mexico, any country, and anyone is looking forward to do business in any country, you can take a look at that. It's full of information, and that's the first thing. So we're on the same page. You have to do your homework, just not try to go there. And in our case, working with the Department of Commerce, what we do first is we do a team call with our coworkers in Post. With the trade specialist who covers that industry, IT, engineering, and then we make sure this is what you wanted to do. And my coworkers overseas, they're going to say, okay, this is a service we're going to do. We're going to do appointments, a gold key service. Or we're not sure you're going to have enough potential. Let's do an initial market check in which the embassy will contact 6 companies in order to see if they're interested to do business with your company. For example, a foreign company contact you, they want to do a business with you, but you have some concerns, should I do business or not? We have another service called the International Company Profile, so we investigate that company, and that investigation can be anonymous, so they're not aware that they've been investigated. And like I say to my clients, if you feel afraid or concerned that they're going to find that you're investigating, then just tell this policy for your company. You have to use a third party in order to investigate the company.
And Jose, along those lines, could you actually let everybody know so they can share with the people who actually have to go home and with their networks, what is the cost to the taxpayers for that service?
The Gold Key service, we do charge for our services. It's not like I gain anything. It's just for operational costs for the government. A Gold Key service is like around $950. An international company profile, it could be like around $350. And there's federal support, like for example, the SBA provide, it's called the STEP funding, which signifies State Trade Expansion Program. And it's funding provided to the Puerto Rico Trade Company in Puerto Rico, so you can apply with them. And that's funding will cover for expenses for trade missions.
So basically what you're saying is that you're going to get a document by the very top specialists in the area as your personal consultants for a fraction of the cost of hiring a guy who may not have a clue what he's writing about, with the seal of approval of the United States government.
Yeah.
That's actually something to keep in mind and to be aware of. In addition to that, I think it's very important, if you give me a minute here, Ambassador Hertell, you know very well the diplomatic world and the Puerto Rican market. You just shared an amazing personal story of your family when we were sitting together waiting. What lessons do you have, because you're a business guy as well as Ambassador Bernstein, you have that business background. What lesson you have for those who are ready to go, but they're kind of like not sure, is this the right time for me? If they're ready to expand or to look for new clients, what should they really do? And we're emphasizing this point again and again because it's key that people start on the right foot before they actually jump on that plane. So what is your recommendation?
Well, Ambassador Bernstein said, contact your embassy, contact your ambassador. And by the way, if you have support, unfortunately we don't, from a congressman or a senator, because it's of importance to the state in terms of job creation, that works wonders. I mean, a congressman contacts an ambassador, and the whole embassy mobilizes to focus on that specific, situation to help in any way they can. And I think, you'll agree with me. I met many times with the president of the Dominican Republic on behalf of a business that somehow was involved, in a situation that that the ambassador had to help, you know, and I without mentioning companies, one had the sovereign credit of the Dominican Republic, and it was in the energy sector, and it had what they call a take-or-pay contract, that whether the power plant was generating electricity or not, they had to pay. And the president said, well, how can you make me pay for this? I'm not getting any electricity. So there's things, but the embassy, Department of Commerce, there's a lot of resources, a lot of, you know, the local land channel, you know, lawyers, if you think you're gonna, you know, accountants, you know, people that are well known and considered, you know, solid professionals.
Thank you so much.
I want to add to Ambassador Hertell's comment. We also provide information for free beside the country commercial guys. So I don't want to sound like we charge for everything that you ask. Like list of lawyers, we can provide list of lawyers for countries sometimes you need to hire. And we have the business service provider. That's where you can see information of accountants, lawyers, U.S. companies that can provide the service in country, and they're reliable because they've been vetted by the embassy.
So let's reiterate to people that basically the ITA is a one-stop shop for anybody who's looking, whether you're ready to jump on the plane, you're already on the plane, or you're just thinking about it.
Yes, but we do have some requirements. For example, for a service company, in my case, the company needs to be based in Puerto Rico. A product, the product has to be made in Puerto Rico, or at least contain 51% content. Like let's say you bring like pellets and you do the screen and pack it in Puerto Rico, which contain more than 51%, you will qualify. But if you import something from a foreign country, we cannot help. You have to be U.S. content or, you know, made in Puerto Rico in my case.
And Ambassador Bernstein, in your case, you are a successful businesswoman in your own right. You actually traveled with, for example, Governor Jeb Bush. You are Florida-based. He would mention all the humanitarian work you have done. You know this, like it's the case of Hertell, from both sides. You have seen it as a businesswoman, you have seen it as an ambassador. What recommendations do you have when people are doing it? And particularly because there are companies in Puerto Rico have expanded very well in basically what we would call interstate commerce. And it's not exactly the same when you go to a country. Even we're talking about a 15-minute flight from my hometown of Maya West to Dominican Republic. I mean, what are your recommendations?
Well, I think the embassy can also help you stay apprised of current legislation in the U.S. Congress that may be very beneficial. So we can also help businesses be made aware of new opportunities and new legislation. And sometimes you are so close to countries in the Caribbean. The Caribbean is a really important logistics center. Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. We are really the gateway to South America and other of the smaller islands. So I think that staying in touch with the embassy, signing up, you know, on their website, we do emails, we do notifications, we do trade missions. I mean, the U.S. Embassy does so much for American businesses that it's just incredible. Not only do we make you aware of opportunities, but we also make businesses aware of the risk, i.e. hurricanes, disaster preparedness. Our embassy partnered with the MCHAM DR, and during COVID, how do we make your businesses more resilient? We did hurricane preparation. One year we did, I remember just a seminar on resilience and new things that we brought in people from FEMA and USAID, and we helped businesses, American businesses over there, prepare for hurricanes. During COVID, what did we do? We got portable pop-up hospitals, the embassy. So the embassy does more beside helping you locate your businesses there, but once you are there, we help protect your business. And I think that's really, really important.
Well, that's an excellent point. Thank you so much for that. Jose, you answered my next question, so I'm going to take some leeway here. If people would like to submit any questions, please let me know. Just bring it my way. But also, because I work for the American Foreign Service Association, I work very closely and help advance the interests of the different components, which is support the largest State Department with all their different codes. They don't call it career tracks. And then you have the people of the Foreign Commercial Service, which in my humble opinion it should go back to the days when there were 1,000 people, not 300. And then you have the foreign agricultural service that also play a role. Can you let people know in terms of all the different components from your perspective? Because you have people in the agriculture business with amazing products that sometimes they know that if you're going to import from a country, like every time we don't have plátano in Puerto Rico, because we got hit, you talk about Dominican Republic, you talk about Costa Rica, you go about other places, that would be something that is of interest because every 5 years we get a major storm or hurricane. And also, for example, when it comes to the foreign commercial service, people don't know that they are the ones who made it possible that my British father-in-law doesn't have to go to London to get Cadbury candy bars, or that actually some other people can benefit because there's already a commercial relationship that they can benefit from. So can you talk a little more about that?
Sorry, that was for them.
For everybody.
So, for example, we have the Foreign Agricultural Service, or FAS, as we call it, Foreign Agricultural Service. So they help companies to bring imports to those countries from the U.S. So anytime I get a request regarding agriculture, we refer them to FAS. So they're the ones responsible for that. Recently, we had the train mission to Mexico. We have around almost 7 companies in the food industry. So our office in Mexico put in contact with the Foreign Agricultural Service, which most of the embassies, they do have someone that will cover food industry. Anything related from animals, it will go to Foreign Agricultural Service. So they're our counterpart that will work with, help companies in the food industry to expand or get distributors so they can export their products pretty much.
Anything that you would like to add?
I think you should also study whether a country is part of a free trade agreement with the United States. That kind of levels the playing field in terms of getting the product out in, tax-wise, como se dice, the taxes and transportation, everything in a country that's a member of, that has a treaty with the United States, whether it be Colombia, DR, CAFTA, Dominican Republic, Central America Free Trade Agreement. It makes a huge difference. Again, it levels the playing field. It gives the investors or the foreign businessmen recourse. If they have like a commercial dispute, it kind of inoculates you a little bit against some of the business practices that some foreigners are confronted with when they go to these markets. So free trade agreements are a good thing for business.
And I also want to add, I get this question a lot. So what happened? What's different working with you or the AMSHA or any other office? When you work with the embassy, it's a lot of reliable. So they'll feel confidence. When someone from the U.S. embassy call X or Y person, it's very reliable.
No, actually, I witnessed that myself. It's really impressive. One other thing I wanted to ask you is specific. For example, in Puerto Rico now, we have a lot of companies that are exporting services. We have done very well in the IT world. Do you have any experiences that you can share about how that process works? Because very often people think about specific exchanges of solid products, more than services, like going to sell you something. But very often our companies that have that expertise and also an understanding of the U.S. market have really taken advantage. I'm not going to mention some of them by name because I don't know if they're a sponsor of the chamber or not, but but there are several who have successfully expanded beyond the 100 by 35 square miles. We like to talk about Puerto Rico, and are doing very well. They're doing very well, and they have been able to get their IT-related products in foreign markets successfully. Do you have any suggestions on those lines or any experiences you want to share?
It's a future. In that regard, so we cannot compete in terms of being the lowest, wages in the region. And in that regards, that la industria de la aguja, como se dice, is gone. It's like for Puerto Rico. So that's the future. And if you have a better widget, a better product, a better software, better IT, you again go through the embassy. The embassy will help you identify the opportunities that can be for your product, whether it's with the government sector or in the private sector. So it's the desire to expand and look for growth outside of Puerto Rico. You can always contact Mackenzie and Associates. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. But so that you know, and bringing in the best, you know, and technology always helps, you know, in being successful.
I really would like to compliment the Chamber, you know, for being really a source of innovation. I mean, we really have to, you know, have sessions like this to bring in people that are, they're just so, the world is so, you know, there's so many opportunities, and education, to me, that was one of my priorities. I think that really is the key to the future, to see where the opportunities lie, and how nearshoring legislation that Congressman SBI from New York just proposed, it's really a key opportunity, I think, for you know, places like Puerto Rico.
My last comment before, you mentioned about services. That's the most that we do now, especially engineering services. We got a lot of requests towards engineering services. I totally forget to mention, we also work with the embassy with investor boards. So we help to bring foreign investment to Puerto Rico, or migrant workers to different states. Yes.
Okay, let me actually get one more question in before we call it a day. Taxes from the racetrack players from Puerto Rico and DR. What is the percentage? How many baseball players?
That's Richard. That's my husband's question.
You better answer that one, right?
Leave that Donald's.
Okay, taxes from baseball players from PR and Dominican Republic. What percentage of how many play in the U.S., if somebody knows that? If not, I made a commitment. I'm going to give you that answer. I'm going to call my friends at Major League Baseball and the Clemente family, and we'll get that to you. Don't worry about it. I got you.
I don't have that figure, but it is an incubator of the best players in the U.S. I mean, you'd be surprised. If you look at the package, the compensation package of this group of baseball players in the Dominican Republic, you'd be surprised. You know, it gets really up.
Well, we know that approximately. I can give you Dominican numbers, but not numbers from Puerto Rico. Over 11% of the baseball players do come from your neighbor, the Dominican Republic, and of course, you know, the great Roberto Clemente and Jorge Posada.
I do try to
I don't know the numbers.
Well, thank you so much for that. We don't have any more time. Thank you so much. On behalf of Cameron Mackenzie, President of the Puerto Rico Chamber of Commerce, on my own behalf of the amazing staff that is led by a wonderful, amazing lady right here, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much to each one of our distinguished panelists for being part of this very timely panel, because Puerto Rico continues to build an economy for the future. We need to look where we can expand and where we can do it in an effective way, because the return on investment is there. Thank you so much.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Un aplauso a este panel que hemos cerrado, nuestros paneles educativos, informativos de esta jornada de 2 días de mucho provecho. Hemos tenido, como ustedes saben, la misión comercial en Colombia, en Puerto Rico. En los últimos 3 días han tenido su cita de negocio. Estamos preparando nuestra próxima misión comercial. Va a ser en agosto del 8 al 11 a Panamá. Y la semana que viene vamos a tener en la Cámara de Comercio al ministro de Comercio de Costa Rica para firmar un acuerdo de colaboración con la Cámara de Comercio de Puerto Rico para seguir hablando esfuerzos internacionales en esto y en otros temas para beneficiar a los comerciantes del país. Vamos a la fotito y voy a dejar entonces que Jorge Rivera Nieves y Cameron Mackenzie puedan hacer el cierre de la actividad.
En efecto, amigas y amigos, concluimos la sesión de trabajo de la tarde. Haremos una pausa de 1:30 aproximadamente. Regresamos a las 7 de la noche. Casual, elegante, la vestimenta, cómodos. música, límite 21. Así que, señor presidente, adelante.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Esto ha sido 2 días bastante intensos, de mucha información. Espero que haya sido de provecho. Yo estoy encantado con cómo ha quedado la actividad. Creo que definitivamente ha cumplido con su propósito. Y espero que esta noche pasen por lo menos un ratito con nosotros. ¿Cómo es que usted dice?
El perreo intenso.
Eso.
A las 7
para que pasen un ratito con nosotros en la Cámara de Comercio, cómo es el trabajo y que disfruten. Hoy a las 7 de la noche nos vemos aquí con
el perreo intenso. A las 7 comienza.
Gracias.